Check 1, 2, 3. I think it's good. Thank you. May I have your attention as I invite you to this morning. It's my privilege, it's my honor to welcome you to this wonderful morning. It's a morning of hope, resilience, and a story that resonates from the people of Hyderabad. Both the ones who stay here, the ones who have come to make this a home, and all of us who work from here. This morning, we have the presence of Mr. KT Rao and respected Principal Secretary, Industries and Commerce and Information Technology Departments, our chief guests for today. A warm welcome to everyone present here on this joyous occasion when Knight Frank Hyderabad moves into Dallas Center. Thank you very much for joining us today. Sir, it is truly an honor to have you with us today. Shri Kalvakuntla Taraka Ramarao is the Cabinet Minister for IT and EC, Municipal Administration, Urban Development, Industries and Commerce Departments, and legislator from Sirsila Assembly Constituency. Shri Ramarao held key ministerial portfolios in the previous cabinet between 2014 and 2018. On 2nd June 2014, he was sworn in as Minister for IT, Panchayat Raj and Rural Development. Shri KT Ramarao took charge of Municipal Administration and Urban Development, Industries and Commerce, Mining and NRI Affairs Departments in 2016 and was relieved from Panchayat Raj and Rural Development Department. Shri KT Ramarao was re-inducted into the Telangana Cabinet on 8th September 2019 as the Minister for Industries and Commerce and Municipal Administration and Urban Development. I'm sure all of this would be very interesting for all our guests who have joined online along with Knight Frank leadership. Unflinching resolve, commitment and inclination to fight for the welfare and development of the state made our Shri KT Ramarao work with a wide spectrum of industry and political leaders in India and abroad. He has provided visionary leadership and put in relentless efforts in reimagining and reorienting the departments he was assigned, and that for us is an inspiration, sir. So thank you for accepting our invite to be with us this morning, and I'd like to now also introduce our guest of honor, Mr. Jayesh Ranjan. He is the Principal Secretary of the Industries and Commerce and Information Technology Department of the Telangana government. His assignment involves developing policy frameworks, attracting new investments, identifying opportunities of utilizing IT in various government processes, and promoting digital empowerment of the citizens. His last few assignments have been in the industrial promotion sector as Commissioner and Managing Director of the Industries Department, Secretary in the Tourism Promotion Department, and Vice Chairman of HUDA. Thank you, sir, for your time today. It also gives me great pleasure to mention that we will be releasing a special report called Work from Hyderabad, which has been researched and put together by our research team at Knight Frank. With that, I'd like to now invite and make representation for the real host of the day, the Knight Frank leadership team. We have the privilege of broadcasting this event live online with over 100 guests present virtually. We also have virtually with us our senior management team. I believe my colleague reminds me that it's reached 300. And thank you so much. Mr. Deben Moza, Executive Director, Project Management Services. Hello, Deben. Mr. Gulam Zia, Executive Director, Advisory, Retail and Hospitality Services. Mr. Viral Desai is National Director, Occupier Services, and with us today present here. Mr. Satish Rajendran, COO, Facilities and Asset Management. Ms. Rajuni Sinha is our Chief Economist and National Director, Research. The host of the day, the leader for us, Knight Frank's Chairman and Managing Director, Mr. Shishir Bajal. Sir, I give this over to you.
Thank you, Samson. Thank you so much. It gives me great pleasure to welcome today the Honorable Minister, Shri KT Ramarao, respected Principal Secretary, Shri Jayesh Ranjan, and all our guests, those who are physically present today at the Dallas Center, and those who are virtually present having connected to our webinar. Just at the outset, I would like to mention today that today's event has been put together keeping in mind all hygiene, sanitation protocols and COVID norms, social distancing and regulations as laid down by the Telangana government. It is our kind request for all guests present today to follow the same. Thank you so much. As I just mentioned, we are in the midst of an extraordinary global pandemic, which is significantly altering the way the world does business. My inability to join you in Hyderabad today bears testimony to it, and my sincere apologies for the same. It is a great privilege for me to have you all join us today on this special occasion when Knight Frank moves to our new office premises at the Dallas Center in High Tech City. And the event is specially and doubly significant for us because we also unveil to you a special report on the city work from Hyderabad. Since the formation of Telangana state, the rapidly growing metro city of Hyderabad has received a new impetus for development, which makes it a complete package of quality infrastructure, supportive policy environment, relatively low cost of doing business, strong consumer base, and an extremely high quality of living. It is no wonder then that the city has topped the Mercer's Quality of Living Index 5 times in a row from 2015 to 2019. And that's not all. The home state of Telangana has consistently secured a rank in the top 3 positions of Niti Aayog's Ease of Doing Business state rankings. These accolades reaffirm the attractive offerings that the city of Hyderabad brings with it. Hyderabad is a very important market for us, sir, at Knight Frank, and we are privileged to have experienced and even contributed in a small way to its exponential growth since the formation of the state of Telangana in 2014. Hyderabad city and Telangana state have made immense progress in terms of economic development, which has only been possible due to the backing of an extremely strong political will and an equally strong business interest. Supported by an enabling and investor-friendly policy environment, Hyderabad has transformed into the new tech hub of India in the last 6 years. Most global tech giants and multinational organizations today have a presence in Hyderabad, with the likes, I'm just mentioning a few like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, IKEA, Apple, Amazon in recent times having been favorably disposed towards it. The government of Telangana has established business and operations friendly policies, offered incentives and facilitated infrastructure for not only the IT industry but other businesses too. These include life sciences, pharmaceuticals, food processing and electronics. Highlighting the strong fundamentals of the office market in Hyderabad is the fact that it is one of the few cities consistently recording a positive rental growth year on year for the last 3 years. And I will request my colleague Viral Desai to speak about it in the end. One of the winning strategies of Hyderabad, sir, has been its sharp focus on infrastructure development. It is perhaps the only major city in India where the infrastructure development has not been retrospective. Hyderabad has systematically built its infrastructure, including roads, rail and airport, well before the office space development started to come in place. Coming to real estate, the real estate sector in particular has been significantly influenced by the growth of the IT sector in the city. The presence of global giants has fueled the office market activity, which in turn has also driven the residential demand. Hyderabad's makeover from the earlier heritage and historic city of pearls to the modern day vibrant market metro city with its high-end offices, great apartments, shopping centers is attributable to the presence and growth of the IT sector. The growing industrial performance post 2014 has driven the office market consumption with new highs in office transactions being recorded in 2019. The residential market, as I just mentioned, has also jumped on the growth wagon as housing demand continues to grow stronger. Both office rentals and residential prices have seen a considerable growth during this decade, and yet Hyderabad remains a relatively affordable metro city in India. Driven by such strong consumer demand and the presence of global brands, other real estate classes such as warehousing and data centers are also gathering steam in Hyderabad. With a promising performance that backed by a strong political will and global economic interest, Hyderabad's growth story is compelling to watch and explore. Knight Frank. Knight Frank has grown and achieved many milestones in India. When the country was at a crucial growth phase, we were one of the first few IPCs to enter the country in 1995. This year marks our 25th year in India. In fact, in many ways, Knight Frank became a pioneer in the real estate segment of India and a formidable part of its growth and institutionalization. Our move to a larger office today in Dallas Center is evidence that Knight Frank Hyderabad too is on a strong growth path. Our office, despite COVID, has been fully operational since May 11 of this year. We are very fortunate today to moving into Dallas Center, the foundation stone of which was laid by yourself, sir, Shri KTR Rao. The high-tech city location is now the new nerve center of marquee names such as Microsoft, JPMC, ServiceNow, Facebook, to name some. Just like the government, our team led from the front during these tough times and is poised for similar strides in the days ahead. At Knight Frank, sir, people are our greatest asset, and this is what makes Knight Frank stand apart today. Over the years, we've had the good fortune of attracting and retaining the best and choicest talent who contribute to our success in no small measure. The legacy of Knight Frank in India and internationally lends tremendous weight for all its stakeholders, and we are proud to be present in Hyderabad since 2008 and growing strong. We consider it a huge opportunity to be in this city, growing together as Telangana soars and scales greater heights in the future. On that note, sir, I thank you very much for taking time out to be here today, and I do hope that you will find the report, Work from Hyderabad, valuable. Thank you so much, sir. I would now like to take the opportunity to invite our Honorable Minister, Mr. Shri KT Ramarao, and our respected Principal Secretary, Shri Jayesh Ranjan, to please come on the stage to unveil the Work from Hyderabad special report in presence of all our guests. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rao. Thank you, Mr. Ranjan. I would now like to call on our Chief Economist and National Director, Ms. Rajuni Sinha, to present the report on Work from Hyderabad. Over to you, Rajuni.
Thank you, Shishit, and good morning, everyone. I'll be taking you through the highlights of our presentation, special presentation on Hyderabad, based on a report titled Work from Hyderabad. So Telangana, the youngest state of India, has been recording very strong growth in the last few years. If you look at the graph here, Telangana has consistently been recording GDP growth higher than the national GDP growth in the last 5 years. The per capita income of Telangana is almost twice that of national average. Hyderabad, the capital city of Telangana, has been inviting global giants in the last few years. So we have the likes of Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Apple, IKEA, Facebook, with their presence in Hyderabad. In fact, Microsoft has the largest campus outside US in Hyderabad. Amazon has the largest campus in the world in Hyderabad. So what is it really that makes Hyderabad so attractive for businesses? First and foremost, I would say the conducive state government policies, which Shishir also highlighted in his initial address. The infrastructure impetus, that's again a very important factor, and that's a big positive for Hyderabad. Hyderabad has been very proactive in infrastructure development in the city. The real estate in Hyderabad is affordable when compared to the other metros. So in fact, the cost of doing business and cost of living in Hyderabad is relatively cheaper when compared to the other metros. Hyderabad offers a high consumption market. So as I mentioned, the per capita income in Hyderabad is much higher than the national average. And the people in the Hyderabad have the inclination to spend, which makes Hyderabad an attractive consumption market for the retailers. The city also has an abundant talent pool. So the city has a lot of good educational institutions. We have reputed educational institutions like IIT and ISB present in Hyderabad. There's also a large influx of young, educated population into Hyderabad looking for job opportunity. And this has resulted in rich talent pool available in Hyderabad. And here I would like to again re-emphasize what Shishir had highlighted, that Hyderabad has been ranked #1 by the Mercer in terms of quality of living. And that has been consistently for the last 5 years. And that speaks quite a lot about what Hyderabad has to offer to its residents. Now, just to elaborate a little more on the conducive government policies, to give you an example, Telangana's TSI Pass facilitates fast approval of applications for setting up enterprises. It's like a single window for a lot of approvals. So something like this is a big welcome by businesses. And this is one of the big reasons why the businesses look favorably at Telangana and Hyderabad. Now, Telangana State Industrial Infrastructure Corporation, which has been assigned the role of identifying high growth areas in Telangana, has already developed some 153 industrial parks in Telangana. The state boasts of 56 notified special economic zones, which is the highest in the country. Even if we look at the operational SEZs, at 34, it's the second highest in India. Again, if you look at the ease of doing business ranking by Niti Aayog, the state was ranked #3 in 2019. So broadly, as you can see, what I'm trying to show through this slide is to give you a flavor of the conducive government policies, which has been very supportive of growth in the city and in the state. We are all aware of that Hyderabad is an IT hub. If we look at the IT and ITS exports from Hyderabad, it has been growing by double digits in the last few years. And overall, IT/ITS exports from Hyderabad contributes around 10% to India's total IT/ITS exports. So that's how important IT/ITS is for Hyderabad and for India. Now, but the important thing to note here is that the state government is focusing not just on growth of IT/ITS industry in Telangana, but is also focused on a growth of a lot of other sectors. the state industrial policy has in fact identified 14 focus sectors. For example, like Shishir mentioned, pharma and life science is a very important sector for Telangana. In fact, if we look at the total pharma production from Hyderabad, it contributes around 35% to India's pharma production. Electric vehicles, that's another very important segment for Telangana. The state government is working towards creating Telangana as a hub for EV. And very recently, the state government has passed its policy on the EV segment. Airport and aerospace, again, to highlight, it's a very important focus sector for Telangana state government. And here I would like to also mention that Hyderabad's Aerotropolis is a very unique concept. It's first of its kind in India, and it's basically a multi-product SEZ which has development zones for various sectors like retail, logistics, education, healthcare. Now, apart from all these sectors which we have here on this slide, the state also has focus on food processing, engineering, electronics, and the state is also providing policies and platforms for encouraging MSMEs and startup ecosystem in the state. Broadly, if you see from the previous slide, the state is looking at all-around development. And talking about the all-round development, I would also like to mention here about the grid policy of the state government. So with this policy, the state government is basically looking at, all-around development of Hyderabad city. Under this policy, the state is providing incentives to businesses for setting up their operations in other zones apart from the western zone where already a lot of development has happened in the city. The state government is also facilitating building up of social infrastructure in the form of hotels and malls in other parts of the city to ensure that there's all-around development happening in the city. And we feel that a policy like this would result in a further spurt in growth in the city in the next 5 years. Now, coming to the transit-oriented infrastructure. Now, this is something which is very critical for a high-growing city. It's important that the infrastructure is in place to ensure that the city's growth is not choked by infrastructure bottlenecks. And here, I would say that Hyderabad has been scoring high. So the state government has various projects and plans in place for this. For instance, the Strategic Road Development Program, under this, the state government has been building skyways, cable bridges, elevated corridors. So basically a lot of plans to ensure that overall connectivity in the city is high and it eases the traffic movement in the city. Then a very brief mention of the metro rail. Hyderabad has the second largest metro network in India of around 72 kilometers, which is the second largest after Delhi. And there are plans of future expansions of metro rail. Then, of course, the Outer Ring Road, which is a 158-kilometer arterial road, decongesting the city, and it's a big boon for the city. The city also has plans for an elevated bus rapid transport system, which is going to be an 18-kilometer stretch and is expected to further ease pressure on the existing roads. So broadly, what I'm trying to highlight is that the state has a lot of plans in place to ensure that the transport infrastructure is able to meet to the rising demand of the city. So apart from transport infrastructure, the other very critical element is the public utility infrastructure. And here also, the state has its plan in place. The Telangana state has transformed itself into a power surplus state. There have been plans and initiatives to ensure that there is sustained drinking water supply in the city. The plan of Keshavpuram Reservoir is expected to meet drinking water requirement of Hyderabad till 2050. Now, with that, I'll come to the last portion of my presentation, which is on the real estate sector. And with all this development happening in Hyderabad city, that has given a big boost to the real estate sector in the city. If I look specifically at what's happening in the office market, the table here shows the annual transactions for the top 8 cities in India in the last few years. And as you can see from the table, the annual transactions in Hyderabad has jumped up very sharply in the last few years. The city recorded annual, record transactions of around 12.8 million square feet in 2019. And with that, the city has moved to rank of number 2, All India rank of number 2 in terms of office transactions, as against rank of number 6 in 2015. So as you can see, there's a very sharp exponential growth happening in the office market in Hyderabad. And the interesting thing to note here is that because of the strong fundamentals of the office market, the rentals have been very steady in Hyderabad. Even during COVID times, the rentals have remained steady in Hyderabad. Now, talking about the residential market, with the big jump that we have been seeing in the office market and all the investment and economic growth happening in Hyderabad, obviously it has had its positive ripple effect on the residential segment also. As you can see from the first graph, the demand for residences has been pretty steady in Hyderabad in the last few years. If you look at the residential prices, they have been growing steadily in the last few years. And, even during COVID crisis, the residential prices were pretty steady in Hyderabad, which again, like I mentioned, highlights the strong fundamentals of real estate sector in Hyderabad. But just to re-emphasize, even with the residential prices increasing in the last few years, Hyderabad is still a very affordable market compared to most of the other metros. All this development happening in the real estate sector and the huge potential of real estate market in Hyderabad, the sector has seen PE investment of around $2.1 billion from 2015 to 2019, and most of it has gone into the office market. Now, if I talk about the upcoming asset classes, data centers and warehouses have emerged as segments with huge growth potential for all India. And I would say that Hyderabad has been very proactive and is actively tapping into this growth potential of these two upcoming asset classes. So with that, I'll end my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rajuni. Thank you so much for that in-depth and articulate presentation on Hyderabad. And this report is available, and for the from along with our website, the report is available for everyone. It will be uploaded by later today, as we have just unveiled it, and it will be available for all. With having said these words, it gives me great pleasure now to invite our guest of honor, Minister KT Ramarao, to come and speak a few words. I would now like to invite the Minister to address this august audience. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shishir. Mr. Viral Desai, Rajuni Sinha, Debin Moza, Satish Rajendran, of course, and Samson Arthur, who's invited us to this event. My Principal Secretary, Jayesh Ranjan, and to all the friends from the media, and also various other customers of Knight Frank who are also seated here. A very good morning to all of you, and my congratulations to the entire team of Knight Frank on moving into a new location in the city of Hyderabad. Hyderabad, in fact, Rajani sort of stole all the things I wanted to mentioned. So all the nice things. Thank you, Rajni, for putting it in perspective when it comes to our city as to how and why it is one of the most attractive destinations in the country today. Hyderabad is a city which has a history of more than 429 years, as we all know. And it's one of those rare cities in India, I keep saying this over and over, which has both the heritage, the old world charm, and also the new age vibrancy. It's a very resilient city, and I'm very confident we'll beat both the blues of COVID and also several other challenges that kind of engulf us today in the year 2020. But if you look at the last 6 years, from 2014 to 2020, our IT exports have more than doubled from 56,000 crores to 128,000 crores. Our numbers have improved in terms of employment as well. And also, in fact, the location where we're currently standing, all of us, in this Dallas center. Exactly 6 years ago, this was nothing but a huge hill. But now today, if you look around, you'll see some marquee names in business. You'll see some outstanding, beautiful buildings which have come up. And in fact, if you forget the fact that you're in India and Hyderabad, and if you just look around, you might even think that this could be any part of the world, any developed nation in the world as well. That's how this place has been shaping up. As was pointed out by Rajni, in fact, last year, we've had a good run in terms of real estate, which typically is a direct indicator, typically is a direct reflection of the growth of the city. Last year, in fact, 3 quarters in a row, we've even beaten Bangalore, which has traditionally been the leader in terms of office space absorption. But on the whole, as was pointed out, in the last 6 years, we've jumped from 6th spot to 2nd spot in the country. And I do believe we are not happy. In fact, I am not happy being number 2. We definitely want to be the number 1 in the country. And I do believe that with the support of wonderful partners like Knight Frank, we will surely get there in days to come. I would also like to quickly say one more thing. Hyderabad, as was pointed out by Rajni, has always been prospective in terms of investments into infrastructure, be it our public transportation network in the form of metro rail, or the strategic road development program that we've undertaken in the city of Hyderabad. Recently, you may have witnessed that there were some issues with the rains and floods and cloud bursts that have bothered us a bit. I've also announced, as of yesterday, in fact, as of a couple of days ago, in fact, a strategic Nala development program, a stormwater drain, development program as well, which will plan for future cloud bursts and future climate uncertainties as well, which should also ensure that the city's livability rank should remain where it is, right on top. If you look around, in fact, you'll see several flyovers, several bridges and other things that were built as part of the strategic road development program. But I think the key to any city's success really is in ensuring that public transportation, robust public transportation, is provided to our citizens. We are going to expand metro. We are also going to come out with an elevated bus rapid transport system which will connect this western part of Hyderabad primarily where there is heavy congestion. And we've also brought in a policy called as the grid, the growth in dispersion policy, as part of which, in fact, we have approved 5 IT parks in Uppal and Nagol and LB Nagar area. And I'm also going to soon, in fact, lay the foundation for another IT park in the northern part of Hyderabad in Kompalli, which will also, again, should also allow the city to grow in dispersion. In fact, yesterday, I have also signed, after the cabinet approval, an integrated township policy, whose salient features would be out possibly tomorrow in all the newspapers. In fact, integrated township policy envisions decongesting the core city of Hyderabad, offering more benefits to the real estate developers so that they can develop more and more satellite townships and counter magnets all around the outer ring road, outside of outer ring road, about 5 kilometers outside of outer ring road. This should again promote the live, work, learn, play kind of self-contained township mode wherein people necessarily do not have to travel inside of the city. One of the key challenges that I would like to point out with respect to cities in India, not just the city of Hyderabad, but cities in India, is the crumbling urban infrastructure under the onslaught of rapid urbanization. Now, urbanization is something that we cannot do much about. We'll have to ensure that as we urbanize, because people will move, continue to migrate, continue to urbanize and suburbanize, in search of better livelihoods, in search of better medical opportunities, healthcare opportunities, in search of better educational facilities. The one thing we can do, though, certainly is, like I said, in large cities, we need to plan better public transportation. And in the suburbs, we need to have self-contained townships, which is exactly what the government of Telangana is offering in the form of integrated township policy. While COVID has certainly, brought in a lot of uncertainty across the world and has posed a challenge to humanity, I do know for a fact that we are a very resilient city and a resilient state under the leadership of our Honorable Chief Minister. Our COVID handling also, in fact, if you look around our neighbors today, all the southern states and Maharashtra included, today, not just the government saying it, but we have several studies which also point out our COVID handling has been much better than many other cities and many other states around the state of Telangana. We also have ensured, in fact, today we look at various cities across the country. There are several basic challenges, water, power, etc. But fortunately for us, under the leadership of our Honorable Chief Minister, we have provisioned adequate water supply for the city of Hyderabad. We've planned for it till the year 2050, for the next 30 years for sure. And this continued growth, continued momentum, combined with progressive policies, will ensure that we continue to attract investments, not only in IT. In fact, I would be remiss not to mention the life sciences sector, which is really, in fact, proved and shaped up to be one of the strengths, one of the core strengths for the city of Hyderabad. Today, if you look at it, in fact, I was waiting for somebody to say it, we're not only the bulk drugs and pharmaceutical capital of the country, we're the vaccine capital of the world. As we all wear our face masks and, as we all keep thinking about COVID and thinking about how the vaccine would save us, I assure you that whatever vaccine, whenever it will come up, Hyderabad will have a vital role to play, because 1/3 of human vaccines across the globe today are produced from our city of Hyderabad. So next time one of your children is getting a vaccine shot, there's 1 in a 3 chance it could have been manufactured right here in our city. So life sciences, IT, aerospace, defense, logistics, textiles, name it, food processing, name a sector, we are there and we will continue to push the envelope when it comes to progressive policy making and also infrastructure. My request to Knight Frank and also to the customers of Knight Frank who are present right here, you've named a number of good things about Hyderabad and how Hyderabad has been steadily growing and, literally knocking on the doors of the most attractive destinations in the country. And if you look at your competition as well, in fact, I'm talking about Knight Frank's competition, that is the other, real estate players and, managed real estate, companies in your space, we work closely with all of them. My request to Knight Frank is work closely with the government, because there are a lot of policies in the offing. There are a lot of, details that we can share with your prospective customers. Work closely with us in terms of attracting more and more business to our city, and also in the sense of planning and offering the best value proposition for your clients. For instance, instead of western part of Hyderabad, if you choose to invest in the eastern part or the northern part of Hyderabad, we offer multiple benefits which are far more, which outweigh the kind of business proposition the western part of Hyderabad will offer you today. So familiarize yourself with the policies. Please ensure that your clients get adequate exposure to the various incentives that are offered by the government. And I do believe with partners like Knight Frank and others who have, a great ambition to see our state and our city succeed, Hyderabad's growth story will continue and will continue to prosper. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity, and I wish the entire team of Knight Frank all the very best.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. Thank you so much for your kind thoughts and for giving us the opportunity of your presence here today. In fact, congratulations on the infrastructure work that you've just announced, as well as the integrated township policy, which I'm sure will go a long way in continuing the growth of Hyderabad. And you're right, it's not only the tech, it's life sciences, it's pharmaceuticals, including banking, etc. And I think it's an all-rounded development which has happened. It would not have been possible only for one sector to have taken the city to where it has today. and congratulations for the same. And the fact that you mentioned that you want the livability index to continue to remain high speaks volumes of your commitment to the city. And I think that's the key. As long as people come here, enjoy, and the livability index remains high and becomes a great place to come, I have no doubt that Hyderabad will remain its numero uno position. Just to give a little more light on what you've said, I'm going to request our National Director, Viral Desai, to just come up and just shed a little light on how commercial real estate has done, and just put some perspective on the numbers that we spoke about commercial real estate. Can I request Viral Desai, our National Director of Occupier Services, to please address the gathering?
Thank you, Shishir. Once again, a very warm welcome to all our clients who are assembled in this room, and also all the clients who joined us virtually. Thank you to the Honorable Minister and Principal Secretary for your kind words. Truly inspiring and insightful. Well, I'm going to give you a quick macro view of what's happening with the commercial real estate market. You know, we are all faced with this COVID situation and how we are today shaping up with the office market absorption. It's not going to be about numbers. It's going to be about macro trends on how things are shaping up for the market. Let me take a step back first and give you a perspective on where we were pre-COVID. So 2019, you know, as most of the speakers have mentioned, across the country, we recorded a gross absorption of about 60 million square feet, led by Hyderabad and Bangalore leading the way, almost clocking 50% of that absorption. The vacancy levels that were recorded across most key markets in India were less than 5%, and rents were generally peaking. In fact, that was a bull run for the last 10 years in India on the office market side. The tone of the market was very landlord leaning. You know, this would be, I'm sure people in the room would subscribe to that. The first part of COVID, April through July, as we know, you know, there was a stalling in overall economic activity. People could not venture out. As a result, there was a huge contraction in demand, and a lot of the transactions were put on hold, decisions were put on hold, but the vacancy levels continued to be less than 5%. We could confirm at that time that new supply of office space will get deferred by 12 months, 18 months, owing to supply chain issues, etc. A lot of the corporate clients were looking at some form of rebate, some form of relief, but there was resilience to any form of rent correction. But the tone of the market had become more balanced. What is the outlook? Well, you know, we would do well, and like any other sector, you know, we may reach close to about 30 million square feet of absorption, given that you almost lost 50% of this year due to lockdown, etc. So there would be a contraction in demand, but there is a clear change in sentiment that is visible. You know, given most people in this room, I'm sure corporate clients are already looking to hire. The question is whether the workforce works from home or office and when the fear quotient comes down. But generally, at this point in time, tenants are looking to restructure their leases. They're seeking more flexibility in their leases. We can feel rents have either been stable or they've corrected. The tone of the market is now more balanced towards the tenant, towards the corporate side, towards the demand side, and landlords are seeming to be far more flexible. What we are also seeing is a fundamental shift in the way business is going to happen over the next 6 to 12 months. You know, pre-COVID, as I mentioned, demand was led by growth. Vacancy levels were less than 5% and rents were rising. Most transactions would lead to an expansion, consolidation, in some cases contraction of space. And if a tenant was looking at flexibility in their lease terms, it came at a cost to the landlord. It came at a cost to the tenant. And the tone of the market was more favorable to the landlord. Post-COVID, what we are seeing is, you know, while the rents are stable or marginally decreasing, but the new element is work from home, increased digitization, de-densification, which relate back to square feet. So to propel decision making for corporate clients, you're seeking more flexibility. And I'd like to believe most clients in this room, are looking to hire, but they don't know what is the footprint, what is the composition of how many people will be in office and at home. Having said that, flexibility today will come at a cost to the landlord. So earlier, which was at a cost to the tenant, and that is the fundamental shift. And I think with more and more institutional owners, REITs coming into play, I think that change is something which we are anticipating. The tone of the market is tenant favoring. At the same time, what we can also confirm is over the course of 12 months, large developers today are becoming more and more institutional. And we will see trade in the secondary market and new developments, being on hold for some time. So we feel after 12 months, rents again will start peaking and rising. But over the next 12 months, it's certainly going to be a tenant-leaning market. So that's the tone of the market as we speak. A quick comparison, GFC versus today, on how things stack up. If you look at the global financial crisis, 2007 was similar to 2019, 31st December. We were at an all-time high absorption of about 35 million square feet. And then September 2008, the Lehman crisis happened, and we had a contraction in the overall absorption. And the drop was close to about, overall drop in 16 months was close to about 38%. And then 2010, we again saw a V-shaped recovery. Similar to that, we are already 8 months into COVID, right? The first quarter of 2020, we had, record absorption. And the preceding 3 quarters are where we are right now. We anticipate that, sometime June of 2021, things will be back to where we were like 2019. But what has transpired in the 10 years from the global financial crisis to now, the ownership of commercial real estate has become far more institutional. The quality of developments, as you can see all around us, is far more evolved. Amenities offered in parks are far better. In dollar terms, over a 10-year period, for a multinational company, you're perhaps paying the same rent. The dollar to the rupee in 2009 was 45. The dollar to the rupee today is 75. So if you compare rents in dollar terms in a 10-year period, you are paying the same rent for a higher quality, ownership being more institutional. The other big change that has happened to business is the kind of work that we were doing in the IT sector in India 10 years back was more back office, voice, etc. Today, that work we've gone up higher in the value chain. Data science, R&D, hardcore programming. And the other big change I think is visible in our economy is the companies that were only sending work to India 10 years back perhaps now have a direct India-facing business, the likes of Amazon, Google, so on and so forth. So, and the Indian economy also has grown threefold 10 years hence. So, the fundamentals of the office market continue to be extremely strong. Typically, when the matured markets in the West do well, they spend higher on technology, and you can directly see the benefits of that in cities like Hyderabad. Conversely, when they do bad, owing to cost and India being so attractive, the business still comes to India. So our anticipation is by June 21, we would be back to the same numbers like we were on 31st December 2019. That's our bit on the office market. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Viral. Thank you so much. And with this, we come to an end of our session today. And before I end, it will be amiss if I do not thank the Honorable Minister, Mr. KT Ramarao, once again. Thank you so much, sir. Principal Secretary Jayesh Ranjan, thank you so much, sir, for being here today. Minister Rao, it's always a pleasure to hear you. And the vision and the dreams